So, yes, this is me telling on myself how I made a mistake that almost cost me hundreds of dollars.
Welcome to Dispatch Chronicles, real life, real stories of a dispatcher.
Container is supposed to be dropped at a different depot than the one that I advised him to drop the container at. It's a mistake number one. I don't care how long you've been doing containers, if you've been doing them for almost 5 years like myself, or if you've been doing them for 10 years, you still have to do your due diligence. Hey y'all, so I have this client, right? So my client gives me about, let's just say 20 to maybe 30 containers a month. You kind of have to get a feel for your customer who you're working with, which could be the broker, and the actual warehouse receiver. So I started working with my customer. We had great rapport. We started delivering the containers. We were set up to do these containers as direct deliveries at first. At this particular receiver, they were taking anywhere from 2 to 4 hours to unload each container. Well, that poses a problem when you have multiple containers. Like we have 4 to 5 containers to deliver per day. You have a deadline when to get these containers out of the port. You cannot have 2 trucks, 4 trucks stuck at one place for all this time. But the client just started noticing that it was not working out for them financially, and it also was not working out for us either financially for us to sit that long at a receiver. So they quickly came back and asked what would be my drop rate. So we started doing just that. We started dropping the containers. Well, the business just started flourishing, and let's just say, them giving me 20 to 30 containers a month turned into them giving me over 35 to maybe 50 containers a month. Them arriving at the port, some of them will be at the port, but they will be on hold, so on and so forth. This is where a great TMS system will come into place, and it's very important why you should have one when you're dealing with intermodal. Time went on, the work increased. These containers, we had to pull them out of the port. Remind you, we still have an LFD, and we still have to get these containers out of the port. So we had to pull containers out of the port, store them on our yard, and hold them on our yard until the warehouse was able to receive these containers. Sometimes we were storing the containers on our yard from anywhere from 7 to 20, 30 days. Well, when you're dealing with shipper owned containers, the steamship line will reach out to you and let you know where said container is supposed to, the empty container is supposed to return to. Okay, so when this happens, it is very important for the dispatcher, i.e., me, to go in our TMS system to make said notes. So when it is time for that container to be emptied, we'll know where to bring it to. All right, so time goes on. We probably sat on this particular container, I don't know, anywhere from probably 7 to 14 days. I did get the information. I went into the system. I put in the system where this particular container was to return to. We made the delivery to the receiver. The container sat at the receiver for, let's just say, 4 days. And my customer reached out to me to let me know that the warehouse was ready for us to come back and pick up the container. It was now empty. So I dispatched my driver. Mind you, this was in the middle of the day. I'm busy. We are doing many other loads that I'm dispatching to other drivers, so on and so forth. And so I tell the driver, hey, shoot over here to this location, pick up said container, and, I'll let you know where it goes. So he said, okay. And mind you, I'm busy. A lot of things are going on. So the driver gets to the warehouse, or he gets to the receiver. He picks up the empty container. He lets me know that he's there. And he asks me, where do I bring the empty? I said, okay. So, y'all, this is mistake number one. I don't care how long you've been doing containers, if you've been doing them for almost 5 years like myself, or if you've been doing them for 10 years, you still have to do your due diligence, okay? So, yes, this is me telling on myself how I made a mistake that almost cost me hundreds of dollars, okay? And, it would have been on me. It would have been my mistake, ultimately. I did part of my due diligence. I checked my emails. I did so on and so forth, but I did not check my TMS system, which is the number one thing. Spend hundreds of dollars a month on a TMS system, and I did not check it. Just point blank, period. I'm not the one who's gonna come up with 1,000 stories of why this didn't happen. I'm gonna tell you straight up, it was my fault. I didn't do. Okay, and that's just me. So, so I checked the email, and I'm like, okay, the container goes here. Here's the message from the steamship line. The container goes here. The port is now accepting it. The container goes here. All right. Shoot that information over to my driver. My driver drops it off, and then he sends me the paperwork. Okay, so I get the paperwork, and I'm looking at the interchange. Now, the interchange, he said, look, the interchange has this on it. And I don't know why they gave me this. They gave me an out gate when I in gated. And I was like, wait, what? And so, I'm looking at the paperwork. Because of the error that he pointed out to me, it made me look at the paperwork a little more deeper, right? So I'm looking at it and I see that the container is supposed to be dropped at a different depot than the one that I advised him to drop the container at. Y'all, my heart sank. My heart fell to the floor because I already know how depots run. I already know the process. This would have cost me hundreds of dollars to get this container pulled back out of this depot. So I immediately went into panic mode. I immediately looked at the time. The time was 4 p.m. The depot closed at 4:30 p.m. My driver was more than 30 minutes with traffic away from the depot. So even if I was to shoot him over there to the depot immediately, he still probably wouldn't have made it because it's at the end of the day. Okay. So I was like, think. This is why critical thinking is important as a dispatcher. I immediately called the depot. I let them know what had happened. So they put me on hold. The receptionist came back to the phone after what seemed like hours. It probably was 3 or 4 minutes. But she said, I don't see the container in our inventory. What? I'm like, he literally just dropped it off maybe 30 minutes ago, blah, 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 blah. She said, well, that could be the issue. Maybe it's just not logged in yet, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, is there anyone else I can talk to? Maybe a supervisor? I was trying to make sure that container was actually, that they saw it in their inventory and they did not give it out. That's another problem. They could have given it out to somebody else. Mind you, when a trucker's going to a depot, there's a long line of trucks behind him. So when they take the container off of the truck and put it in a stack, there are other truckers that are coming in there to also drop off empty containers. So they begin to stack containers on top of other containers. So it could have been buried under a pile of containers. So what the depot will do, depending on how far deep it is buried, they will charge a digging fee. That digging fee can start at a couple of $100s and go up from there to thousands of dollars. Okay, it just depends on how far it is, where it's located, so on and so forth. So y'all see why I was panicking, right? So I'm like, okay. So she said, well, the thing I can, what I would advise you to do is to call back tomorrow and, speak to such and such. She gave me a contact and I asked for an email because I was like, no, I don't even want to wait till tomorrow. I want to go ahead and email somebody right now. So therefore, everybody can be on alert about this container and we can get the ball rolling as soon as possible. But I got all the information from her. So I tell you, I did not sleep that night. I could not sleep that night. All I could think about was, oh God, please don't let it be hundreds of dollars to get this container out of this depot. So next day comes around. I'm like, telling the driver, look, we got to go get this container. But before we go, I want to make sure that it is there. Someone else didn't issue it out to somebody else. So I was like, oh man. So I contacted them. They didn't reach out to me fast enough. So I contacted them again. I'm like, hi, this is me. I sent you an email yesterday at approximately blah, blah time. And I just wanted to, verify that this particular container is in your storage, is in your possession. So they reached back out to me and they said, yes, the container is in our possession, but there will be a digging fee. We have attached XXX documents. Please fill those out and send those back to us. And I'm going, man, yes, they're going to charge me now. But I'm also excited that the container is in that depot because if it was not, that would have been more money because now we would have had to go, y'all, it just would have been a whole mess. Okay, I'll do a whole nother video about shipper owned containers and the good, the bad, and the ugly about them. But I was like, okay, I was relieved that it was there, but I was also like, man, we still got to pay this money to get this container out. But it just didn't sit right with me. It didn't sit right with me because I knew there was another source that I could try. And so I was like, you know what? I don't care what it is. All they can tell me is no. All they can tell me is no. And if they tell me no, then I've done my due diligence and I just got to live with it. Okay. So that's what I did. I reached out to the steamship line and I let them know what happened. On such and such day, this is what I did. This is where the container is. And this is why I sent it there. Y'all, again, I was sitting there like, it's like they didn't reach back out to me. It probably had been maybe 15, 20 minutes. Usually they reach back out a little bit, they'll respond a little bit sooner than that. So I was like, oh, they don't respond. We still got to go get this container. Like, what am I going to do? Y'all, like, again, it seemed like my heart was still in the bottom of my stomach, but the steamship line reached back out to me and told me basically no need to worry about returning a container, that it was fine at the location that it was at. When I say I rejoiced, when I say I rejoiced, that was like the prayers, that was the answer to the prayers that I had prayed, that all was well with this container. Okay, so with this definitely taught me some key things of how I dispatch now, and how I how I operate. I don't, like I said, I don't care how long you've been dispatching, I don't care how long you've been hauling containers. You definitely have to do your due diligence, meaning that you want to make sure that you're checking everything, checking your emails, checking the steamship line emails that they may have sent you, checking their website, and also checking your TMS system. I had already done my due diligence. I had already had the information on the paperwork. The thing for some of them, drivers are different. You're gonna have the truck drivers, and then you're gonna have the ones who drive trucks. Okay, and I get that quote from a truck driver. Excuse me, from a person who drives trucks. That's what he told me. He says there's a truck driver and there's someone who drives trucks. That's me. I drive trucks. So that means that they're not in it like, and these are owner operators. They're not just in it for the same reasons that you're in it. Meaning that, I don't know, like, I don't know. that that statement that person made let me know that our tenure would not be long. I did not dispatch very long for that person at all, because it just can't be that way. The trucker has to also be on the same page as the dispatcher. The dispatcher do have to do their due diligence. We do have to make sure we're checking everything, because the trucker is relying on us to be 100% accurate. Even though we're human, yes, we do make mistakes, but this is what they're relying on, because we are there to fill in the gap for them to be getting that extra rest that they need to get, for them to be focused on other things like expanding their business, watching out for traffic, whatever else that they need to do. We are supposed to be that gap. So that's why I say I would never say, oh, it's just 100% all their fault. But it was on the paperwork. So when he looked down at the paperwork to see where to bring the empty, he could have said, hey, look, the paperwork does say it's supposed to go here. Is this where it's supposed to go? And all this could have been avoided. But also, I also could have looked there and said, hey, look, this is where the container is supposed to go. So I'll take this one, but that's my dispatch chronicle for today. If you are someone who is looking into getting into intermodal, you can check out my course at www.securelogisticsllc.com to find out more information, or you can send me a DM.